So I don't know about you, but I love a really good underdog story. And when you think of like what is a good underdog story in the world of sports, specifically the one I want to talk about today is all about Unrivaled basketball. You know, that tiny little 3-on-3 women's basketball startup that actually decided to announce today to the world on the same day that the WNBA is going to be holding its All-Star game. That same little underdog league that decided it was smart to actually announce to the world that they had signed 14 NIL deals with collegiate women's basketball players. An absolute brilliant move by Unrivaled basketball. Not just signing the 14 players, but actually making that actual announcement today. Now, I want to point out that the WNBA, which is, you know, like a big ship, very slow, where, of course, Unrivaled basketball at this point is smaller. It's certainly more nimble. It's I would say it's like a jet that is moving pretty fast in terms of its ability to do things that apparently the WNBA just can't do. Like, if the WNBA wanted to, why didn't they actually turn around and sign 14 women's college basketball players to NIL deals themselves? So on today's Nat Report, we're going to dive into Unrivaled basketball, why it's doing as well as it actually did in its first year, and we're going to discuss a little bit around the WNBA as well. Welcome back once again to the Nat Reports. As always, I'm Dave DeBaugh, coming to you from the Silicon Valley. It is Saturday, July 19th of the year 2025. It is just after 1 p.m. on the West Coast. So Unrivaled made their big announcement earlier in the day, which was, as I mentioned, an absolutely brilliant move by the league. And I also wanted to point out, as I did in the opening, that the WNBA, for whatever reason, has never actually ever thought about doing something like that. So you can see that a league that is an upstart might have some advantages than a league that has been around for, I don't know, like 25 plus years at this point. That being said, when you think about what the WNBA is doing right now with regards to their actual contract that they're trying to work out with the players, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I know a lot about the WNBA financial situation. I understand where they're at. I understand where the players are at. And it's pretty obvious to me, even as an outside observer that happens to understand the numbers, that a deal between the two is pretty simple to get done. It's pretty obvious what that deal is and should be for the players as well as for the league. Now, we know that the WNBA has historically struggled, and we understand that the league is still largely owned by the NBA itself. Those are all factors that have to go into a new CBA deal actually getting done. Now, I didn't want to make this video about CBA deals in the WNBA, but I did just want to point out, on a day in which there are articles about the WNBA actually dragging its feet with the new CBA deal, there is that upstart Unrivaled Sports that actually makes the 14 NIL deal announcements with collegiate college basketball players. Now, we know JuJu Watkins is going to be a huge star in the W. She's one of the people they did a deal with. Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame is another. Flau'jae Johnson from LSU, Lauren Betts, her sister, and Kiki Rice from UCLA are some of the other people I did want to actually mention at this point. I do want to also point out that these weren't just like deals that were made today. These were deals that Unrivaled basketball has been working on for a while. And Flau'jae's case, she signed her deal a long time ago now. So for Unrivaled to actually make a splash announcement like this tells me that there's actual real adults in the room that actually understand how to actually run a real business, a business that they hope someday is actually going to thrive. Now let's take a step back and talk about how well did Unrivaled really do in its first year. Now, I don't know exactly what Bones reruns actually get from a ratings perspective on TNT, but what I can tell you is that Unrivaled Sports actually averaged a whopping 221,000 viewers per episode. That is an average of 221,000 viewers per episode. I mean, I'm just saying it's actually not terribly bad when you consider this is a upstart 3-on-3 women's basketball league on TNT and True TV and a couple of their other networks. Now, if you were to compare their ratings, obviously, to what the WNBA gets, you at this point can't really compare those. But if you were to actually do a fair comparison, which is Big Three basketball, which has been around for quite some time now, which has also been on major television networks, over-the-air television networks, they average traditionally around 450,000 per episode. So not bad when you consider what they actually were able to pull off in their first year. Now, not everything's been perfect at Unrivaled. I'm not trying to sit here and paint that picture for you. But what I am trying to say is from an upstart sports business perspective, the team over at Unrivaled Sports clearly understands what they're doing. Now, I mentioned that the WNBA is a little bit slow. It's a little bit slow to actually understand what change actually truly looks like. Now, we saw that Stephen Colbert has been fired by CBS earlier in the week. And you might be wondering, well, Stephen Colbert was great. He had the best ratings of any late night talk show. And he was making like $16 million a year. And I don't want to get into all the politics of what he said about his own network that he works for. But I do want to point out that the numbers about how the show is actually really doing from a financial perspective did get leaked out. And according to those reports, the Stephen Colbert Show is actually losing around $40 million a year. Now, that, of course, is because of declining ratings, and people just don't spend as much time actually watching it. And on top of it, you've got to hire a lot of people to actually put that show together. Now, it's not to say that a show like that can't be successful financially. It's just simply to point out the facts of the situation. So for the WNBA to actually just completely miss out on the fact that Caitlin Clark was going to be a superstar, and it took their machine about 6 months of wasted rookie Caitlin Clark season to actually finally figure it out. Now, it's unfortunate what happened to Caitlin this year from an injury perspective, but the WNBA has been much better at understanding what it actually has from a promotional standpoint. Now, in terms of Unrivaled Sports and the Unrivaled Basketball League, they did have 589 million social media impressions. And one of the big things that you have to understand about the world that we live in today, it is not an over-the-air Stephen Colbert world anymore. It is a world about social media impressions. Now, I don't have the actual WNBA social media impressions in front of me. I certainly would hope they are significantly higher than what Unrivaled Basketball pulled off in its first year. But what I can tell you is if you go read a press release from Unrivaled Basketball, they will lead with that social media impression number. And the reason they do that is they understand where the money actually truly is. It's not necessarily just there over live traditional television and cable television. Now, those are certainly important to any sports league, because, of course, sports leagues are all about being able to show their particular vehicle to a mass amount of people. Put a sports league on some small streaming platform and it probably won't succeed. But put a sports league on a major platform like TNT, and they probably still will have an opportunity to actually create real viewership and a real following. But from a true financial standpoint, I bet at the end of the day, half of the revenue that Unrivaled is actually going to make in future years will probably come from its ability to actually be a digital media brand. It will come from their ability to actually really promote their game across social media platforms and generate a significant amount of income that way. They are doing something that the WNBA at this point, for the most part, just doesn't get. All right. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on this particular topic. I absolutely love good underdog stories. You know, we talk about those television ratings, and a lot of people will dismiss them as 221,000, that's it. And when you think about what they're actually selling as a league during its first year, those numbers are actually pretty good. All right, thanks so much for tuning in to the Nat Reports. This is a new show. This is the first full week of the show. So please go ahead and subscribe. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, do check out our YouTube channel as well. This is the show that provides a daily sports business brief for the Nat Reports. I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the